So something came up in the live stream earlier or yesterday. I'll just say yesterday. And it was an individual who is in the beginning stages of this, trying to grapple through the court process, and they're dealing with the negative information that just keeps coming up. It's like you walk into this thing and you expect everything to be fair. You expect your voice to be heard. And then you hear all these horror stories. You hear all these people who have had these colossal failures. Maybe whatever state you're in, they're telling you that, you always lose. And I know that whenever I was going through that and I was hearing that, it was really devastating. It was kind of like every time you turned around, you were just getting more negative news, more information that just makes you feel like you're fighting a lost cause and nothing is ever going to work out, and it's incredibly tough. First thing you need to understand is, yes, this is tough. Yes, this isn't necessarily fair, but all those worst case scenarios that everyone tells you about doesn't necessarily mean they're going to come true. Now, if you make mistakes and you give your ex all the ammunition they need to achieve a victory, well, yeah. But going into this with a defeatist attitude that you've already lost, I understand it, because oftentimes you can do that because you're just trying to mentally prepare yourself to deal with it, and it's really tough. So you got to take things really slow, and you have to just kind of stay focused on the prize. Obviously, check around and talk to some people in your area, specifically in your area, to find out to see if you can find out what is really typical. Is it really typical that no matter what, you're going to lose? More than likely, that's not the case. That's what I thought when I started my thing. Everyone said, you're in California, they hate men, they think they give everything to the mom. And what I've noticed over the 3 years of doing this, and even in my own personal experience when I started this 8 years ago, or 9 years ago, it doesn't really seem to be the case. A lot of the places are really gravitating more towards 50-50. Not that they're going to give it to you without a fight. You're probably going to, and when I say fight, you just have to ask for it and jump through the flaming hoops, pay the tollman, so to speak, to try to make it happen. And to be perfectly honest, even if you went pro se, as long as you don't take the bait and fall into any traps, you could potentially do okay. The bottom line is that things typically aren't as bad as everyone makes it out to be, and typically they're not going to be as easy as you think it would be or hope it would be. It's important to realize that. It's important to prepare yourself for all of this and realize that this isn't going to be easy. Things aren't necessarily going to go the way you think they should go, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be all catastrophic. So, you just kind of have to keep your head down, keep focused on the goals ahead, keep focused on what you're trying to accomplish, and don't listen to all the people that are just giving you these negative patches, not negative patches, but negative thoughts and ideas and the way to look at this whole thing. I think sometimes people who've been through this, they kind of have this all nostalgia thing, like, oh yeah, it's going to be horrible, you're going to lose, it's terrible, because it was bad for them and they made it through it. And instead of having some compassion for the person they're talking to and saying, hey man, this is really tough, this is going to be harder than anything you ever experienced, but you're going to make it through it. It's going to change your life in ways you never anticipated. Some of those changes are painful, but oftentimes when you get to the other side, it's puts you into a better place than you never ever thought possible. Now, if there are times that things don't work out, I get that, but I think more often than not, things work out better than we anticipated. As kind of my experience, I really thought things were going to go horribly wrong. There was a period of time where I was mentally preparing myself for that. I was mentally preparing myself to lose, to have the kids turn on me, to have the ex get full custody and then get move away rights. I had people telling me that, oh, she's gonna use the silver bullet and go for domestic violence and then seek an emergency relocation order to move out of state because you're a scary person. And all those things did was make me more angry, make me more fearful. And I lost a lot of energy, not energy, but I lost a lot of sleep. I was incredibly stressed during all of this. For what? I mean, if I could have just taken some deep breaths and focused on making my life as stable as possible, focused on rebuilding my relationship with the kids, then I would have been a hell of a lot better off. You'll be a hell of a lot better off if you can do that. If you find people who are triggering you, telling you stuff, take a break. Give yourself a pause. Go do something else. Surround yourself with people who aren't feeding you the worst case scenarios on what's possible. Be careful of some of the forums on Facebook and stuff, because it's like a source of negativity, negative people, and honestly, it's hard for me to even go on the Facebook forums. I'll do it every once in a while, but it's just there's so much negativity and just toxic stuff on there that find better people, find better resources, find better people to be around to help keep you sane and headed in the right direction. I can't lie to you and tell you that this is there's nothing to worry about. It's going to be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Everything will work out great. No, you do have to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. You need to make sure you're jumping through the hoops that you're supposed to be jumping through, not letting it get to you, which is really tough because it really used to irritate me, and just keep treading along. And if you can keep yourself focused on what you're doing, focused on not taking the bait, not basically making mistakes to provide your ex with further evidence that the stories they're saying are true, things typically work out. And, if you make a colossal mistake, sometimes you can come back from it. Sometimes you can come back from that. And sometimes I've seen people make horrific mistakes, and they get basically caught up in a situation where they've cut off all their options, and it makes it really tough. That doesn't mean everything's over. Doesn't mean that your whole life is over. I mean, is it going to be different? Everyone's life is different after these things. I mean, that's a given. But these things tend to work out. And it all depends on our actions. If we allow ourselves to get overstressed and react without thinking, we'll torpedo ourselves. There's some mistakes I made that's every time I didn't follow the advice I'm giving you, there were setbacks. And then I had to basically dig out from those to recover. Fortunately, they weren't catastrophic. They were just, little problems here and there that just made things more complicated. So just take a deep breath. If you find yourself getting, just bombarded with negativity on what potentially could happen, do whatever you have to do to recharge. For me, it was sleep. If it's going for a walk, going for a ride, taking your motorcycle and taking a trip, or walking in the woods, or whatever it is, do whatever you got to do to slow yourself down, reground yourself, reprioritize what's really important, and focus on that. It's really tough, though, when you got somebody who's going boop right in your eye and just pushing your buttons. And typically, the narcissist has a tendency to win in the beginning. It's going to be like they get a lot of victories in the beginning. Partly it's because we weren't anticipating it. But normally it doesn't keep progressing that way. So it's not always the case. But anyways, If you need more information on this or need someone to kind of talk specific in your situation, book some time with me. We can work on your specific issue to help get you through this. So on that, I will catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye.